One day, an old professor of the National School of Administration was asked to give a training course on the effective economic planning of one times to a group of about 15 leaders of big companies from North America. This course constituted one of the 5 workshops of their day of training, so the old professor only had 1 hour to spend on this subject. Standing in front of his group of elite, who was ready to note everything that the expert was going to teach, the old professor looked at them one by one, slowly, then said to them, "We are going to make an experiment." From under the table, which separated him from his pupils, the old professor took out an immense jar mason of a gallon, which he directly put in front of him. Then he took about a dozen pebbles, roughly as big as tennis balls, and placed them delicately, one by one, in the big jar. When the jar was filled up to the brim, and when it was impossible to add anything to it, he raised slowly his eyes toward his pupils and asked them, "Is this jar full?" Everybody answered yes. He waited for a few seconds and added, "Really?" Then he bent again and took out from under the table a pot filled with little stones. With accuracy, he poured these little pebbles on the big stones, then moved softly the jar. The fragments of little pebbles went between the stones down to the bottom of the jar. The old professor raised his eyes again towards his audience and asked, "Is this jar full?" This time, his brilliant pupils began to understand the whole process. One of them answered, "Probably not." "Well," answered the old professor. He bent again, and this time took out from under the table a bucket of sand. With attention, he poured the sand into the jar. The sand went to fill the spaces between the big stones and the little pebbles. Once again he asked, "Is this jar full?" This time without hesitation and in a choir, the brilliant pupils answered, "No." "Well," answered the old professor, and as expected by the brilliant pupils, he took the jug of water which was on the table and filled the jar up to the brim. Then the old professor raised his eyes towards his group and asked, "Which big truth does the experiment show to us?" Being no fool, the most audacious of the pupils thinking about the topic of the course answered, "It shows that even when believes that our diary is completely filled, if one really wants it, one can add more meetings to it, more things to be made." The old professor answered, "It is not that. The big truth that this experiment shows to us is the following one. If one does not put the big stones first in the jar, one will never be able to make all of them go in then." There was a profound silence, each becoming aware of the evidence of these comments. Then the old professor told them, "Which are the big stones in your life? Your health, your family, your friends, to make your dreams come true, learning, to do what you enjoy, to relax, to fight for a cause, to take time for yourself, or any other thing. What is necessary to remember is the importance to put one's big stones in first in one's life. Otherwise, one incurs the risk not to succeed in one's life. If one gives priority to peccadillos, one will fill one's life with peccadillos, and one will have no more enough precious time to dedicate to the important elements of one's life. Then, do not forget to ask yourself this question: which are the big stones in my life? Then, put them in first. With a friendly gesture of hand, the old professor greeted his audience and slowly left the room. Please join the time management presentation I made earlier, and you are welcome to bind the two presentations together. Hope you enjoy them. Thank you.